All right, guys, today in front of me from Dancing Goat, we have their 8-year American corn whiskey that is finished in Spanish oak barrels. So this is part of their Stillman's private stock. Comes in at 118.8 proof. And guys, last year, the 7-year American corn whiskey finished in my top 5 whiskeys of the year. It was absolutely fantastic. Will it do it again this year, guys? We're about to find out right now, so without further ado, let's go. All right, guys, so as I stated, this is an 8-year American corn whiskey, 100% corn whiskey that is finished in Spanish oak casks. Again, it comes in at 118.8 proof. Let's go ahead and get into the nose. It reminds me so much of a spiced candy corn. So it's like nutmeg, cinnamon, candy corn. Further into the glass, further away, you pick up a little bit of that the sweetness from the corn, but then there's also a little bit of spice there too. It's almost like it's literally like a cinnamon and nutmeg kind of drenched candy corn. But the flavor or the aromas are still kind of there further away from the glass, but they just start to pick up a little bit more in depth further into the glass. And now more further into the glass, as this kind of opens up, it turns into this like sweet oak and then a black cherry. So you're getting like this nutmeg, cinnamon, candied corn, and then further into the glass, and now it's starting to pull out these this kind of sweet oak, and then a beautiful black cherry note to it. Definitely like that dark kind of black cherry note. Again, some of that corn influence is going to be there. It's being 100% corn that's going to happen. And then, for me, like kind of remembering what this was like last year, I do feel like there's a little more oak influence on this one. But that's going to be further into the glass as well with some of that, again, that candied corn and that like dark black cherry. Man, that is a beautiful nose. Let's get into the palate, guys. Cheers. This is ridiculously good. It is so good. I don't know what kind of wizardry, hocus pocus stuff goes on over there, Dancing Goat. But I'm gonna tell you, this corn whiskey is no joke. That first sip is just it's so mind-blowingly good. So again, a lot of what I was getting on the nose starts to resemble that of the palate. There's a lot of baking spices there. The viscosity on this, at first there's like a big kind of like rush of spice. It almost dries you out for a second, but then all of a sudden it's kind of this like coats your mouth in like this silky kind of film. And that film just kind of just saturates the palate, and it's cinnamon and it's nutmeg. There is another baking spice on there. I can't quite pull it out yet, but it's more towards the back of the palate and into the finish. God, that is so good. I'm telling you, buy a bottle of this. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. It is absolutely fantastic. Let's get into the second sip, guys. Again, a lot of that corn sweetness right up at the front. Very, very sweet on the tip of the tongue. But it's just the viscosity has just kind of saturated my cheeks. And then the middle of the palate, again, is just like this burst of kind of like cinnamon and nutmeg. Corn sweetness kind of starts to travel to the mid of that, like the mid palate. But then there's like this complex kind of like nuanced flavor that's like towards the mid to back palate and into the finish with some of that sweet oak. I don't necessarily get like a lot of dark fruit, like that dark cherry on the back of the palate. There is a fruitiness there, but there's also like this baking spice that I'm thinking about what it is, and I'm hoping on this last sip I get to pull it out. But it's like this kind of like complex, like nuanced kind of like baking spice flavor. And like I know I've had it, and I just cannot figure out what it is. But it's so good. It's like It's sweet, but then there's it's slightly kind of floral. And, it almost reminds me of like saffron. It almost reminds me of saffron, like how it has that sweetness, but then there's like that floral aspect to it too. That's what I'm thinking about. And then there's like a little bit like some pepperiness there as well. God damn, that is good. Let's get a last sip, guys. Cheers. Again, the sweetness of that candy corn on the front of the palate starts to pull into that mid palate where that cinnamon and that nutmeg. And then at the back of the palate, there is that sweet oak. And then it is just like this complex kind of like nuanced kind of flavor. It's like saffron where it turns into this, like there's like a sweetness, but then there's also like this floral aspect to it. And it's not floral in a bad way, not like a crazy kind of flower, like super, super floral. It's almost like floral, herbal kind of thing, but it reminds me so much of like saffron, like eating kind of raw saffron. This whiskey is amazing. It's so good. It is honestly such a really good whiskey. Again, for it to be 100% corn whiskey, finished in Spanish oak, 118.8 proof. Again, absolutely phenomenal job done here by Dancing Goat. So I thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews, and I want to send a big thank you over to the team at Dancing Goat here for supplying me with this bottle here to review on the channel. They did make it out to Dusty Dan there on that private label. I thought that was really cool of them to do that. Again, I had this whiskey last year, and I found myself sipping on it from time to time. I wanted to kind of cherish it because there was something special about it. And it finished in my top 5 whiskeys of the year, even when I did it blind. Just something about the flavor profile and the viscosity of this whiskey just elevates it above a lot of competition. Again, it has a very unique twist of being, a 100% corn whiskey finished in Spanish oak. You don't hear about a lot of whiskeys being finished in Spanish oak, but I mean, the fact that these guys are doing it and doing it on that kind of level is it's impressive. And again, it shows. Again, I blinded it, completely mixed up out of all those whiskeys, and it finished in my top 5 whiskeys of the year. It's absolutely fantastic. This one being a year older, is right up there with that 7-year. It just the mouthfeel, the viscosity, that candy corn, baking spices there on the palate, and then that like kind of slightly kind of complex nuance flavor there of that saffron there on the back with some of that sweet oak, some of that white pepper, all kind of mingled together back there. Fantastic job here, guys, by Dancing Goat. So if you're looking for more reviews like this, guys, hit that subscribe button, bell notification to be alerted of any upcoming reviews or live streams. You can also find me on Instagram at Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. Until next time, guys, stay dusty.